We have a problem. While other industries are always and already innovating with VR training simulations and holograms in real space and already building 3D digital twins with their factories and assets, everything is happening already. Our education system still looks a little bit like it's from the past century. So we could really see this in the pandemic when we were forced to become more digital and things did not really work out too well in most parts of the world. But actually, it gets even worse because most marketers and big tech marketers and the media in general, they have given us a lot of false promises about the metaverse. And this leads to false expectations of what we can do and a lot of disappointment because we are still not there yet. In today's talk, I want to talk about the fundamental concepts of the metaverse. What is it? So after this talk, you will have a realistic image of what to expect when you hear this term metaverse. We'll talk about, and you will understand, how we can use it to improve our education system, how we can improve other systems also, how we can create a better future for us. And we will hopefully also have a more positive touch with this word and with this topic in general, because there's a lot of gray zone kind of things that people don't like really. So it has a negative touch, so hopefully you will also see it with more like an opportunity and why it's also something we can be optimistic about. So let's actually start with what even is the metaverse. But before I even talk about the metaverse, let's talk about the fundamentals first. So what are the core technologies that build the metaverse even? And here, I don't want to talk about all the technologies because there's quite a bit, and it would get really complicated if we would go to all the digital and physical layers that we need to build. But the core fundamental technologies that we are talking about is AR and VR, so augmented reality and virtual reality. And I'm pretty confident by now that most of you already know what these terms mean nowadays, but if not, here's a quick refresher. So virtual reality is basically if you are replacing your complete existence in a virtual world. So I can basically put on this headset, and I could be anywhere in any space and any existence, do all kinds of things, and this is usually also used for the metaverse. Whereas AR, and to not be too complicated, we just talk about AR and VR here, is the main difference here is that if I put these glasses on, I can still see you. I'm augmenting my world. So this is something that is important to know to differentiate between these technologies. Let me just make sure that they don't fall down, or I will just put this on here. So we also see a lot of other terms. They are just getting thrown around everywhere, and people are getting confused. So immersive technologies, or XR, think of them as an umbrella term covering both of these technologies, AR or VR. But still, so now we talked about AR and VR already, but we don't know what's about the metaverse. And if you would ask 100 people, you would probably get 120 different answers, because marketers usually know how to sell the same product to different people. So let's check out a quick definition and see how we can interpret it and get our own views. This here is from Wikipedia. The metaverse is a hypothetical iteration of the internet. So we can already think about it as a successor in the future of the internet. People call it Web3 also, or part of it is being called also Web3. But just think of it generally as the future iteration of the internet. As a single, universal, immersive virtual world. And here already the definition is something where I would personally say we don't really know if it's going to be one universal virtual world. Nowadays, today, we already have a couple dozens of metaverses or social VR experiences. We have VR Chat, we have Rec Room, we have Allspace VR, Engage, and many, many others. So maybe in the future, we don't have one universal place, but we just jump from one metaverse to the others, like we would travel in a different country, just much, much faster, actually. That is facilitated by the use of augmented or virtual reality VR and augmented reality AR headsets. And also here, I personally believe that these headsets in the future will actually merge together. Think of it. We have VR headsets already, and especially this one also. You can activate the cameras to have a pass-through view, so we also see the actual world with VR headsets. So they kind of are already like AR headsets. On the other side, with AR headsets, we can also, if we have like a full display view, we can increase the brightness and build a complete virtual world. So this would also feel more like a VR headset. This is why me personally and many other people, they just like to use a different term, maybe XR. And there are already XR headsets that have both at the same time, for example. They are a bit expensive right now, but that is something that we will see grow over time. So here we see, okay, the definition on the metaverse itself is not 100% clear yet, and this is still something that is coming over the next years. It's nothing that we have right now. Whereas with augmented and virtual reality, they are being used a lot already and with very productive ways outside of just gaming and entertainment. And I want to share 3 ways. So here already you see like a small example of what the metaverse could look like. And I would just want to share something. Maybe this presentation here, this whole summit, in the future, maybe, we know, who knows, next year, we have a virtual reality version of this. So people could join virtually here as well. This one here is physical right now, obviously. Like you could come to the stage, you can like touch me, but please don't slap me. And I could also do it from the comfort of my home. So both are very interesting because you will have less barriers to enter this kind of conferences. Funny enough, our developer is actually giving a talk today on the anatomy of the metaverse inside of the metaverse, I think in a couple hours from now. So we see this is slowly coming already. And if you want to check it out, it's going to be an all-space VR for any of you who knows this already. So we see there's a slow, steady way into this topic. But how can we use them already to make our education system better? Because education is our and my primary focus. This is something that what I believe should be really improved upon because many other industries are much more advanced and really education is the fundamental of all of our societies. And I could talk like hours and hours and hours about not just education, but always how these technologies can help us. But here we have 3 ways for the education. So the first one, AR and VR, again, or XR, allow us to break the limits of reality. And this is something really breakthrough and fundamental of these technologies. With VR and AR, we can actually shrink to the tiny size of a human cell and be inside of the human body and see how it works from the inside instead of just reading about it in a textbook, which is also 2D. So we are learning we are always learning 3-dimensional topics, like our world is in 3D, our existence in 3D, our bodies in 3D, but we always learn them in 2D. But we can also expand to the size of the universe and hold the solar system in our hands. All of these things are possible with augmented and virtual reality, which are not possible in real life. Now you may argue, okay, well, I can just build a physical model of a molecule. I can also just build the solar system. Or we are doing this with cars and prototypes already. But the big problem here is that these things are extremely expensive and they take a lot of time. Which leads me to the next point. We can also travel through space and time with these technologies. So this is something really powerful that I just talked about a second ago. And we can also save a ton of money with them. So these are all ways that we can use to help us become better with these technologies, but also doing better with life in general. And one thing that I want to talk about is how they can also help us save time. This is a personal story of mine. Back in 2017, when I was still a computer science student, I used to work at Technical University Berlin as a research developer. And we had a research project that helped stroke patients to regain the ability to move their arms again. So imagine you had a stroke and you cannot move your left arm anymore. The conventional therapy is called mirror therapy, and it places a mirror in the middle of you, or in front of you, and you, as you can see, you do, with your right hand, you do gestures and movements to trick your brain that it thinks it's the left arm. And if you do this with enough repetition and your therapist helps you to do these kind of exercises, your brain actually thinks it's the left arm and builds new neural connections between the broken arm, the left arm, and the brain connection, which helps you then regain the ability to move your arm again. So really, really fascinating and amazing what we can do. The problem here is that you need a therapist with a patient. So imagine we had like 20 or 30 patients for that therapy. We would need a lot of therapists, or one therapist would have a lot of workload in checking if the patient is doing the right exercise and if everything is running out well. And we then had a research project that built this kind of thing in VR. How does it work? Basically, as you can see here, we put on a VR headset, and then back then, as you can see, we had like a big kind of rig and a mesh kind of thing with external cameras. Today, we don't even need any of these. Like everything with eye tracking and hand tracking is inside of this headset already. So we see the big progress we have already. But we would stretch out our working hand into this camera tracking system, and then via software, we would actually replace the hand, so mirror the right hand so you could see the left hand. And we can also like change the color of the skin so the patient would feel more like it's his or her hand. And this actually helped to take off a lot of workload from the therapist to treat more patients, basically. And it also empowers the patients that they can do these exercises by their own. And the cool thing is today, again, you just need the headset. You don't even need this fancy big rig and all of that stuff. And again, I could talk for hours and hours of the amazing use cases that we could have to save time and money and help us learn better. But I only have around 20 minutes, so I think that's going to be fine. And another very big use case, and this is not directly linked to education, but I think it's extremely interesting to see how much you can actually save. So there's this helicopter company called Bell, and this was a big project a couple years ago, where they could build a helicopter that usually took 5 to 7 years because they had to build a physical model, they had to build like mock-ups and prototypes, they had a designer to fly over, the designer was testing it, didn't really feel right, then he had to fly back, get an engineer. All of that stuff took a lot of time, a lot of travel, a lot of headaches. They decided to actually build this kind of thing in VR. So instead of building physical prototypes, they built a digital 3D prototype and just had the designer put on a VR headset and check it out. And they could save 5 to 7 years of development to less than 6 months, which is, this graphic is telling greater than 6 months, but just think of it that it should be less than 6 months, but it doesn't really matter. We could really shrink down the size a lot in how much time you need to build these kind of things. And this could be applied to any kind of industry. So also another very big use case, and this is kind of the purpose of these technologies, is they can actually help you and they create a maximal immersion. So how can we really use it? Again, 1 million use cases we could do it, but here, for example, I actually used it to practice this very session inside of VR. So since the pandemic, I haven't been speaking to a bigger crowd for a couple of years now, and I guess many of us are maybe getting nervous speaking in front of a lot of people. So I actually put on my VR headset and was doing this exact speech in front of a virtual audience, which is kind of cool. And this already helps me to kind of like get into the state better again. But you could also use it for immersion of imagining it like a fear of spiders and you want to treat it. You put on the virtual headset and you can just like see a spider that is not real, but it kind of helps you already to get used to it. Well, maybe not on your arm, that would be a bit extreme, but that also works. Or like a virtual firefighter training a virtual firefighting simulation, which is also much safer. So there are many use cases we can actually do for that. The biggest use case, though, for VR technologies, most of the time, is virtual training. This is huge, because with virtual training, you can take so much time and effort and efficiency out of this training that you would never be able to do in real time. So one famous example, not recently, but a couple years ago, is Walmart. And Walmart bought 200,000 headsets to train their staff for customer service, for like putting the items correct in, all kinds of training simulations. But the good thing is with VR, you can also use it to do highly dangerous training simulations where it's a matter of death and life if you do it wrong or right. And in Walmart's case, it's going to be preparing for Black Friday, because that can be very dangerous, and you don't want to be there, especially if you're from the US. You have a problem if you're at the wrong stage at the wrong time. So you can really train it for all kinds of scenarios. And one use case that I really like, and something I'm really passionate about, is how can we use it to teach science or other kind of tools inside of education? Because think of it, like we are still using these 2D concepts like books and screens and things like these to teach something and show something in 3D. And this takes a lot of abstraction from our brain, and it's more complex. And with these technologies, we can actually take out the complexity and make it easier to understand for us how this works. And how does a real scenario could look like? And let's see. Not promising you anything. Let's see how it works out. And if we get technical issues, don't worry, you will see me later somewhere here around. You can check it out. But I will now use actually the HoloLens. So this device over here is called the Microsoft HoloLens. And this is an immersive AR computer that has everything. Like now you see me touching it with the password and stuff like this. Oh, 1 second. So this thing has everything in it that you need. You have spatial tracking, so it understands the room I'm in, and it also understands when I'm talking. So it's like a very smart device that we can use for these kind of applications. And this is something that, again, it's not in the future. I mean, it's literally here right now. And let me just see if I can get it connected real quick, because that is always this thing that is important to do. So give me a second. So I'm gonna make. Say again? It all comes down to Wi-Fi. Exactly. And since this building here is a bit older, I'm gonna use my own hotspot and try to do the best. But since we are optimistic about the future, we can also be optimistic about the present and just see how everything works out here. So let me see. And again, feel free to check by, and if you want to try it out, this is something really amazing. And this is something, again, that is so hard to explain to someone. I'm still going to show it to you now in a very second. But you're still not having the same experience that I have, because I see the virtualized, I see the spatial version of it. So I can really see everything, hopefully. Let's see. Okay. 1 second. You know, with live demos, it's always not so easy. I was told that I was crazy to do a HoloLens live demo, because apparently even Microsoft messes up their demos sometimes. So that is something. I'm going to pass that on. Oh, yeah. Let me see. 7. All right, let's see. We are seeing something. Not too bad. Let's see. And now comes the critical part. Let's see how good my phone is performing here. And if we don't mess up, then we should have an image in a second. We can count. That's good. And yeah, I think I can see something already. Wonderful. So let's see. There's a slight delay, so if I move my hand, it's gonna be a little bit later. But you can see these holograms. At least you can see the 2D version of the holograms that I see in 3D. So this is something, again, that is, I can take this window now. I don't want to make a super long demo on this, because my time is limited here. But this is something that I can now just teach and show how we can have the future of education that we can use. So now I'm opening up a demo. It's Holo Academy. It's by a university in America, and they have a very cool demo that I wanted to share, how I, as a student, could learn biology, for example. And So far, it's not too bad. So you see now the glass is tracking the floor right now. So you should see like a jump when it's like there, and now it's gonna come here. And let me actually place something right next to me and start the session. And there we go. It's loading. And you should see something very cool in a second. Hopefully very cool. And there we go. Again, you are seeing a 2D image, but I literally see a 3D skeleton. Like since the room is so dark, it could literally just be right in front of me. And if you're scared of death, then it might be scary for you. But just imagine learning biology like this. Like I can really see my rib cage, not mine, but that's not me, by the way. But I can see a rib cage. I can see all the muscles here, all the bones here, how they connect. And this is like, again, 1 million times better than anything I've ever seen. The cool thing is this app is also interactive. So let me show you. So now I want to study how the muscle fibers work here. And the cool thing is I can actually go inside and see how the fibers are connected. And even like check out the stomach and hear the brain, everything like this. And this is something that is truly, truly amazing. And even though I've been like doing this for many years already, it still amazes me every time and I see it. And this is something that I really believe is the future of education, how we should look forward to. Because now, I mean, I would know all of these things if I would have the HoloLens. I have a good excuse. But this is how we can learn. And again, of course, this does not only limit to biology. This could be chemistry, it could be physics, it could be history. We could actually take the HoloLens, go outside and see Bucharest 100 years ago, put a digital layer on top of it, and then learn about the history. Or we could also show a potential future on how it can look if, for example, we would meet our climate change goals or not. So all of these things are possible, and I just want to kind of like push your creativity a little bit, and see all of these things. And again, it's unfortunately it's much cooler and real than having it on the screen, but I think that is okay. Cool. Oh yeah, you want to check it out?
Can I try it?
Absolutely. That's the perk of being an organizer.
Yeah, this is why I've done it. It's 7 years.
So you can fix it here.
Wow.
And now you can just walk past it.
I don't know if I want to. Oh yes, it's much better with this.
It's a difference, right? This is like nothing compared to here.
Oh, so
you can stretch out your left arm and then.
You said we should not slap you?
Oh no, don't slap.
But
me.
I can.
You can slap the virtual me. That's fine.
Oh God. So what I can tell you is that this person has cleaned their teeth quite well.
That is good.
But what I see is that they didn't really take care of their mental health. Now, I'm going to go back and please continue.
Wonderful.
So yes, he's not lying, it's really like that.
Perfect. Now I have proof. Wonderful. All right, let me switch back to the demo. Cool. So, how far are we with all of that stuff right now? Because I could just give you a glimpse of the future. This device costs like 3,500 euros, so it's not something that we can put in every school at the moment, at least. And this here is the very famous Gartner hype cycle. And we can also replace visibility with like expectations. So early on, as we can see on the left side, something new emerges. Then we have a lot of hype. Then the hype is full, like the media, everybody is just talking about it. It's like the new stuff. People see it's actually not what they thought it is, because marketers, again, and big tech and media, they just over-promise and under-deliver. Then you have a huge disappointment, and at some point, it kind of like gets back again. Where do you think where we are right now? Just like try to put a needle somewhere in that space and just thinking about it where we could be. Of course, there's like no answer. I'm just also guessing. But I would say we are somewhere around here right now. Like we are pretty much in the middle or almost at the end of the disappointment at the moment. Because, Metaverse is like the hot new topic. And then when you try it out, it's just like some creepy avatars, usually at least, not always. And something that we can work towards to in the next couple of years. So, really important ethical question. Do we really want to replace our traditional education and our whole existence to the metaverse? And my answer is a very big, clear no. No freaking way. We are still and always be human beings. We are social creatures. We need human contact. We need to feel and hug each other. We need to be outside in nature and feel the sun. We need walk on the ground and have physical activity. All of these things are essential to our existence. So we really should see the metaverse or these immersive technologies as a tool that we can use to make things better, more efficient, more immersive, to learn better, but not to actually replace our whole life and whole existence. This would not be so desirable, I would say. And the metaverse should really not be a question of if we want it. It should rather be a question of how we want it, because it's still so early that we all here, as futurists, of course, all of us, can still shape it with our opinions and what we say and what we do. So we all have this kind of like responsibility to make sure that it's going to be an awesome technology and not something dystopian. And yeah, that's it already. Thank you.
So let's go to you. Do you have any remarks, questions, or comments? The young people in particular, I saw they were very active. So one, yes. Can we have a microphone? Can we have a microphone once, going twice? Sold without microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, thank you for the speech and for the demo. What do you think will be the role of human educators in the future of VR?
Human educators. That's a good question. These technologies should also not replace human educators, of course. The good thing is that we can also do these talks, do these educations as humans instead of these technologies. So imagine you want to teach someone across the world, or we could have this kind of speech virtualized. So we can also use these technologies as human educators to also showcase these. Or if we would have like a simpler scenario where we want to show how the molecules work and stuff like this. This could be part of the curriculum where we could show the students or the people we want to educate that they can use these headsets for, I don't know, like a certain amount of time, test it out, and then put them back and kind of mix it together with our actual education. So this is also something that we as human educators should use to extend and augment our current systems, basically.
One in the front and one in the back.
Okay.
Hello. Hi, Dinesh. I actually saw your presentation, and I want to say I think I'm a bit more radical than you when it comes to VR learning. You said that this will not replace you said that this should not replace traditional education. I say, why not? And you talked about having social contact, but I think that children and young teens can get their contact from other places, and they can just learn this way a lot better, and it's way more efficient than having the school system in any part of the world organized the way it is. And I say, what is this stopping? What's stopping this technology from taking over the entire education system and making educators redundant, because you can have just one virtual educator in a virtual world that teaches the student even better than a real educator would. What's stopping that?
That's a very good question. I believe that education, school, university, etc., is much more than just the learning, the content. It is really the whole experience. Like, fortunately, I was still in that time where when I was studying computer science in Berlin University, a big part of it is still like meeting with people, going to the lectures together, I don't know, drinking a beer after, or doing some stuff, or like this whole experience, and I think the education is just like a small subpart of all the other things around at the moment. So that's for the educational part, because otherwise we would just start to just be in our living room or bedroom or whatever, putting on the headsets, be like this, putting them off, and do some stuff, basically. So we really should not forget the human, real social aspect in all of these things, even though I'm a big believer in these technologies. And for the social stuff, I would say, I think it's like still a big difference if we meet someone, like a simple example would be like a Zoom call versus a real call. Like it's a huge, huge, huge difference. And even once these technologies become more advanced and more advanced, I think like there will be nothing really I'm saying it right now, but there's nothing really replacing like real eye contact, real touch, and all of these kind of things.
Yeah.
And also something that we should not completely eliminate, because this event here, I think it's much cooler than doing it completely virtual right now. So the good thing is we can do them both. We can do them here and virtual at the same time.
Thank you very much. I think that what you said is very true, and we are going to keep the physical parts, but as a top student that incorporates technology into his learning, I can easily see VR goggles being used by the future top students, and I easily see everybody that owns one of these glasses to be a lot more privileged than somebody without them, and I see everybody that aces their exams using this.
Yes. I think yes, they should be cheaper.
Yeah, that's coming.
So we have one last question. We're very late. And Dinesh is going to be here with us for until we exit the building. So there's a question in the back. 2 questions. I would let her first for diversity, but also because I can't see you actually. He goes first. I love this generation.
Thank you. So one key point that I think is interesting is that the lessons, if you can call them that, have to be very different than what we're used to. So my question is, if you have an idea of the time and resources to develop the lessons for this type of technology, because I think that's going to be quite an interesting issue to solve, because we are talking about the price of the technology, the physicality aspect of it, but also thinking about the lessons will require like maybe 10 people working, 20. I have no idea. That's why I'm asking how long and how many people does it take to do one of the things that we've seen. Thanks.
So you mean the actual immersive lecture lessons, right? That's a very good question also. The good thing is this is something that hopefully will come more and more. Like I personally will also, in a couple of years from now, we'll also get more and more into that space. So currently, our company, we teach people how they can learn to create these immersive experiences. So basically, like if you, for example, would want to build something like this, but you don't know how to do it, that's basically what we teach. So we teach the how-tos of building these. But I can also imagine myself in a couple of years from now, once we've grown and stuff like this, that we also build the actual immersive experiences by ourselves, because this is something that I'm very passionate about. But the question that you just asked is pretty much exactly what my company currently is solving by teaching people how to build these experiences. So thanks for the question.
Cool. Please?
Yes, so thank you for your speech. As we know today, the technology and electronic sector is a pretty polluting sector. So in your opinion, and I'm sorry if it's a very broad question, but in your opinion, how can we ally the metaverse and sustainability?
Okay, that's a good question. I could have a very long answer, but I guess I should make it.
I think you have a short answer.
I guess I should make it short. So sustainability is a couple of ways where these tools can really help. Is the example with Bell that I gave with the helicopter. Like collaboration, we don't have to travel super long distances anymore for working together on a object or on a architecture or any kind of plan. We can do these things much simpler just virtually. So maybe you have a team of people, you are working on a car model. You can be like a hologram next to you, but that person's actually 2,000 kilometers away, and you don't have to fly to that place. So that's one big way where these technologies can help for sustainability, and I think I don't have much more time.
Let's give a non-virtual round of applause to Dinesh. Thank you.